Welcome to the Friends Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, lead fantasy writer and analyst of friendsfantasybenefits.com. Joining me on this episode is my good friend Scott Bogman from In This League. Scott, how you doing, my friend?
Buddy, I am doing great. Glad to see you, Mason. This has been a lot. We've been doing this for a long time now. You guys started in 2014, I believe, right? Like right when we did.
2015. 2015,
Okay.
I think,
Yeah. So we have been doing this about the same amount of time. Kind of climbing through the ranks here too. You're at Fangraphs. I'm over at Fantasy Pros now. So it's a lot of fun. And we were talking before the show. It beats digging ditches, man. Going to work and talking about baseball is such a fun job. So love every second of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, we came up together. We both had our little podcasts and grew them, and have now reached higher heights. I don't know how high of heights, but we've reached. But
we've got to mediocrity, so we're doing okay.
Yes,
so
absolutely,
there we go.
Which is where we belong.
Firmly in the middle now. That's right.
For those who might not know who you are, though, I can't imagine anybody who listens to this podcast doesn't know who you are. Remind everybody where you reach the social media and then talk about all you do.
Yeah, at Bogman Sports on the Twitter machine. I am, of course, with the Welsh over In This League. The Welsh, more of the baseball guy. I'm more of the football guy on that side. Obviously, he has one of the best prospect pods in Prospect One. And we both work for Fantasy Pros. Welsh is doing some work at The Athletic now as well. So, Welsh wrote in Joe Pisapia's Black Book. So, just a lot of stuff going on. Just follow me on the Twitter and you can find where all my stuff is. Appreciate you guys.
And I always love listening to you guys. You guys have probably the most entertaining podcast out in the marketplace. Definitely go follow Scott and go follow Chris, the Welsh, on the Twitter machine and subscribe to all their podcasts. You are my Diamondbacks guy, right? You're a Diamondbacks homer. You know what there is to know about the Diamondbacks, so that's why I'm having you on to preview that team. Let's just jump right in and let's start with our catching situation. They have had Carson Kelly for a number of years. He's had ups and downs, but
downs.
A massive trade happened recently where you guys sent away Dalton Varsho. In return, you get Lourdes Gurriel Jr., but you also get Gabriel Moreno, who is a top-tier prospect. I thought it was an amazing trade for you guys. What are your thoughts on these catchers for fantasy?
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome trade, and I think it's one of those trades. And I know everyone has said this, and Diamondbacks have had a couple of these, like the Gallen for Jazz Chisholm. Everyone's like, "Oh, such an even trade." It's so even. I mean, I'd rather have Gallen, but this trade is pretty even too. This all hinges on how Gabriel Moreno plays for the Diamondbacks. And I think what we're going to see in terms of fantasy is a really annoying situation. And that's going to be a lot with the D-backs this year. There's going to be a lot of annoying situations, catcher in the outfield, the staff. So this is one where I expect Kelly to start the year as the main catcher. But I do think, and I think Steamer has it fairly even between them in terms of games played and at-bats and stuff like that, leaning slightly towards Kelly. So I think that's what we're going to get. But I do think, like, if Moreno gets to the bigs and really picks it up, then he is going to be the main guy sooner rather than later. You do a trade like this, and Varsho was, one of the biggest, if not the biggest piece in the lineup last year. So you have to find a way to replace him. And this is a team that's probably more like 3 years down the road to being an actual real contender, but could be a year or two away from the playoffs. So, and if they, win the close ones, which they didn't last year because of the bullpen, if they can win some close ones, they can be in contention for a wild card spot, I think, this year. A lot would have to go right for that to happen, of course. Your Giants would have to be bad. The Padres probably have to falter a little bit as well. But, one of these guys could be good, but my money would not be on Carson Kelly or anything we traded for Goldie for, because they're all gone. Until Spore, I said that, and I was right about that trade from the jump.
I forgot about that.
I didn't ever, every day. Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still working that off.
I bet you are. I tend to kind of agree with you. I mean, I don't know that I'm drafting either of these guys in most redraft leagues this year. I just think it's going to be kind of a split that annoys you. Maybe Moreno does hit the ground running at some point and kind of take over, but catchers have such a hard transition to the major leagues that unless they have some elite talent and a really, really good opportunity combined with that. And I think Moreno has elite talent potential, but
number 3 prospect according to Baseball America, right? Like,
yeah,
he's up there. He's the top 5 guy. So Bat's gonna play. Hopefully this year too. We'll see.
But yeah, I think there's so many good catchers, in contrast to previous seasons that I think I'll probably end up skipping both these guys and going a different direction. Moving on over to first base, Christian Walker had kind of a revival year.
My man.
Oh man, like I don't know how many people really saw that one coming, but he was fantastic. Do you think he can kind of keep it going into next season?
I mean, the power is real. I had no idea there was that much thump in his bat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at some of the measurements and stuff, the Diamondbacks radio guys called this all year long, just started saying his batting average was bad to start the year, and it was all or nothing, very much all or nothing. A lot of strikeouts and a lot of pop outs, but he hit so many to the track last year too that were loud outs that I don't know that we've seen all of the power. So when I see some of these projections, like I believe Steamer has him for 28 bombs this year, I'm just like, I think he would have to suffer some type of injury to only have 28 homers. I think he's a 35 to 40 homer guy. It's just, is that average going to tick up? And he got better at the end of the season. I believe his second half, his split stats on batting average, I think it was like 265 in the second half versus 228 or something in the first half, somewhere in that neighborhood.
204 versus 285.
Okay. Well, even bigger than I was giving him credit for. So, this is a guy who won a Gold Glove too. He's never coming off the field. Like, I read something the other day. I think Steve Gilbert put out about Gurriel potentially playing on the infield or something. I was like, where would he play? He ain't first, because we got a Gold Glover over there. He's not playing in the middle and he ain't playing third. So I don't think that's a real possibility at all. So I love Walker. I think he's coming at a deal right now too. What is his NFBC ADP? It's I just remember seeing the guys around him and thinking, man. So Christian Walker is 140.
Yeah.
Going around, like Andrew Vaughn, Eugenio Suarez. I mean, Stanton's down there, Renfro's down there in a new spot. I like Walker a lot. And that is going to be my homer pick of the season. I'm pretty sure is Christian Walker.
I don't think you can go wrong with Christian Walker. I mean, the 140 ADP, it's a little bit steep, especially considering how deep first base is, but there's a pretty big drop off, I think, between him and kind of the rest of the pool. I know a lot of people are really psyched on Andrew Vaughn, and for good reason. He's got real opportunities. Probably not going to play the outfield anymore. But like, he's proven absolutely nothing. Whereas Christian Walker's proven that he can be a 30+ homer bat.
Surprisingly, I think the floor is deeper on Vaughn than it is on Walker, because you kind of know you're at least getting thump out of Walker, even if he does bottom out in batting average. So
I'm kind of with you on Walker. I think he's if you don't want to play in like the upper end of the first base pool, I think he's a really good option kind of in that middle end. So moving over to second base, we've got my boy Ketel Marte, a guy that I've kind of shit on the last few years because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
he still can't stay healthy. You're finally getting somewhat of a buying opportunity. Is it time to buy back in on Ketel Marte?
It's hard to say no to that. I mean, this is a dude a couple years ago that was getting lower end MVP votes, right? He had a fantastic season. But like you said, and this is an old football scout saying, is availability is the best ability, right? It's just being able to be on the field. And it's not just that he's not out there. It's that these injuries are piling up and they're starting to hurt his stats, right? So, you see, I could easily see him getting lowered in the order. And just with his injury history, I have backed off my injury stance a little bit. I used to be I'm not taking this guy who gets hurt all the time. I'm not taking that risk. I backed off that a little bit, but it's still ingrained in me, man. So it's hard for me to try to sit here and sell people on Ketel Marte. I'll just say when you draft him, pay for him in auction, whatever, you're buying a lottery ticket. That's what Ketel Marte is at this point. He's a lottery ticket because the bat is still in there. I mean, he still has like one of the top 5 longest home runs in Dodger Stadium, right? Like the power is in there. It's usually from the right side against lefties. Way more power on the right side than on the left side. And most of the time he's hitting from the left side because most pitchers are righties. But it's still in there. The ceiling is still very high, but the floor has just bottomed out for him. So he's very, very risky. And there's not a lot of depth at second base. So, if you're buying him, it probably needs to be as an MI and not a starting second baseman, and go from there. So I love Ketel. I hope all of it works out, but I'm kind of hedging bets if I'm going to roster him in 2023.
And I think that's fair. He's going off as the 19th second baseman, 192nd overall. That's fine. Like it's absolutely fine. A guy who, we know has speed, even though he never seems to utilize it on the base paths. A guy that we've seen power from before. The injury history.
D-back should be stealing this year, and he could be on the if he's hitting high in the lineup. Let's see if Carroll leads off and Marte's hitting second, he could be on the back end of a lot of double steals. So I might get a little bonus there too. But if he's hitting 8, maybe not so much. So.
Yeah, I think if you've been a Marte fan before, and if you were ever going to, bet on him, this is the perfect time to do it. He's just so cheap. Like, I mean, this is a guy who's going like top 75 last year, and now he's going almost outside the top 200. I think people have kind of been burned one too many times, and now they're kind of, to steal the old Matthew Berry phrase, the hate's gone a little bit too far, right? Like it's
the overcorrection. You draft a guy, he sucks, and now you just will not take him. It's the overcorrection, and a lot of us have it because a lot of us were drafting Ketel Marte expecting, bounce back, this guy's going to be great, and nothing.
Josh Rojas, this is an interesting one to me, and I'm hoping you can shed a little bit of light on him because I love Josh Rojas. I'm a big Josh Rojas guy. He was actually pretty darn good for fantasy down the stretch. There's been some talk that he may not even be a full-time player in 2023 because his defense is so bad. I tend to look at the rest of that roster and go, I think he's probably playing third base most days. And with the other injury issues on this team, like he'll find ways into the lineup. Where are you at on Josh Rojas?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. And it's not just because his defense is not good. He's kind of he's much, much more of a bat, right? But we need him. We need him in that lineup, and we need him as a table setter too. Like this guy can steal bases, and he's a gamer. Like he's going to show up. I love him in pressure situations too. So if he does come off of third, he's still going to be a Chris Taylor type super util player. So they'll find a way. He'll DH. They'll put him at short. They'll put him at second. If Marte's going to get hurt, we know that. I mean, that's been happening. So if he plays so terrible at third that they have to move him around, he'll still be in the lineup, I think 5 out of 7 days. But I think they're just going to kind of go in with him as the everyday third baseman and let him lose it. I think that's more of what they're going to do with Rojas than, see someone playing well there in spring training and go, well, we have to have Emmanuel Rivera in there because he's so good. I just don't think you have to. So Rojas, much better bat. So I expect him to get, like you said, the majority of the playing time at third this year.
What about Nick Ahmed? I mean, he's a dynamite, kind of gold glove kind of shortstop. Do we care about him in fantasy though?
I don't think you can, especially coming off major shoulder surgery, right? It's taken him a long time to recover. I think this could easily be you trade Nick Ahmed to someone who needs a flashy middle infielder, right? Some pure defense play, and Perdomo could easily play more than him. I'm not the biggest Perdomo fan, but the guy is a grinder. He works, and he'll put a good swing, and he can put a charge into a baseball now. So I went and saw the Diamondbacks play the Astros in Houston here, and I made fun of Perdomo. I was sitting with my uncle. I'm like, this guy, he can put a charge in one every once in a while, but he's not a good hitter. And he hit a home run, and the Diamondbacks lost like 9-1. So I was like, of course, the one guy I make fun of in the lineup hits the homer, and nobody else does anything. But yeah, Perdomo, I feel if I had to bet right now, I'd say Perdomo starts more at short than Nick Ahmed does.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I like Perdomo, actually. I mean, 88% zone contact last year. He hits the ball into the ground a little bit too much. I think part of the problem is he needs to learn how to raise that launch angle. But if he does, and
he's trying to hit bombs, they need to they need to rein him in. Be like, look, dude, hit it to the gap. Use your speed. That's power. Not power is not just homers. It's pushing the ball to the gaps, pushing it down the line, and using those wheels. So hopefully, I think he's very young. He still has a chance to become a decent hitter. He just has to learn what to do instead of trying to mash it out of the ballpark every single swing. So,
what about Emmanuel Rivera? You care about him at all?
Rivera's fine, but I think he's more of the fill-in when someone needs a day off type of guy. So, like I said, if Rojas is just over there looking like me at third base, then sure, let's stick Rivera in there and move Rojas to DH or something. But I think he's mainly going to be a bench bat.
All right. Moving on into the outfield, the aforementioned Corbin Carroll is one of the most exciting players, young players in baseball, and the ADP is reflecting that. People are really, really excited about Corbin Carroll. How excited are you?
Extremely excited. I mean, watching the Diamondbacks for as long as I have, and especially recently, there hasn't been a ton to get excited about. Zac Gallen had a great run. Christian Walker won a Gold Glove. Alek Thomas came up and was flashy, but this is the guy we've been waiting on. We've been waiting on this group of Corbin Carroll and Jordan Lawler coming up, and Drew Jones after those guys. So this is I listened to our friendos over at Triple Play interviewed Nick Pecoro, right, about a month ago, and he was talking about Corbin Carroll and talking about his slugging percentage and his batting average and everything. He said, and let's remember, this guy did not get hot when he was up in the bigs, and he wasn't playing every day, so he didn't really have a chance to get super hot or anything, because they wanted to save all of his rookie qualifications for this year to try to get the extra draft pick and all that stuff. But he was hitting well last year, and he didn't get hot. So I am so excited to see him go on some crazy hot streak. And, I'm not going to, this is a little bit of hyperbole because the player I'm comparing him to is a top 5 guy now, but Julio came up last year and, just went ham. And this is Corbin Carroll is in terms of prospects, obviously very different player, very different body type, all that stuff. I mean, Julio looks like a middle linebacker, and Corbin Carroll looks like he might be begging you for change at a Circle K, right? So he's very, very skinny, but in terms of level of prospect, they're in the same range. I don't think Corbin has that type of ceiling that Julio does, but he has a very, very high ceiling. So this is a guy that is going to move up boards the closer we get to the season, and especially when we get to spring training. If he gets hot there and makes some plays or hit some homers or whatever, he's going to just keep climbing up boards. And it's because, there were a lot of good impact rookies last season. So with Julio being one of them, who's now a top 5 pick. So I expect him to be very good. I expect him to play every day, and I expect him to lead off most days. So the lineup is very weird. Like it could go a million different ways at this point. But if I'm Torey Lovullo, it is Corbin at the top. That's what I know right now, and everything else is going to figure itself out.
Corbin's such an interesting guy because I mean, I agree with you. I see the upside, and I think it's going to, I think there is a ton of it there, and I think he's going to be one of the hottest names. he's already super hot in terms of his ADP. His ADP is currently 65 in draft champions already. That's a 17th outfielder off the board. And if you've listened to any of my pods, you've heard me complain about how bad outfield is this year.
It's bad. Outfield, it feels like you're looking at it, you're going, this is okay. I'm okay. And then you get 2, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do with these other 3 spots? Holy crap. That is what it feels like every time I've done a draft. I haven't done many so far. Obviously more on the football side, and we're winding down there. But yeah, man, it looks nasty.
Yeah, screw pocket aces. I'm doing pocket outfielders like all day long. Like just it is disgusting. And so I think you add that fact of the lack of outfield depth to the fact that Corbin Carroll's got such amazing upside. He's young. Yeah, I think he's going to move up in the same way that we saw Bobby Witt Jr. move up last year.
Yeah.
And for good reason. Like you said, I think he could be, if everything went right, like a 20-30 guy. Which is what we saw Bobby Witt, and I think he's got a better average floor than Bobby Witt Jr. So I can understand. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull the trigger on that because that is a really, really high price for a really, really young, unproven guy, but I can understand why a lot of people are going to. Another guy that's really, really hot in terms of the ADP is Jake McCarthy, and for good reasons. He won people fantasy leagues last year. Are you a believer in Jake McCarthy? Because Steamer surely is.
Yeah, I don't think I'm as big of a believer as Steamer is, and he is getting a lot of hype. It's the stolen bases, and I tell you what, I will always be thankful to Jake McCarthy because Jake McCarthy is the guy that finally lit the light bulb in Torey Lovullo's head to let these guys run a little, because he has been very staunchly analytical about that in terms of not letting these guys run. I mean, not as bad as some teams. Who was it that only had like 35 stolen bases last year? It was the Tigers or somebody. It was someone bad too, where you were like, these guys need to produce runs and they're not stealing at all. But the D-backs are running. They have guys that can run now. Carroll and McCarthy are outstanding. So like you said, at the end of the year, he won people leagues. There had been some trade rumors with McCarthy, though, because the outfield is very packed. I mean, obviously, Varsho is gone, but you bring in Gurriel, the big right-handed bat you needed. So a bigger right-handed bat that you needed. Yeah, I mean, right now, I don't know how McCarthy isn't the 3-hole hitter for this team because he finished off the year so well. You have Walker as cleanup for sure. So it's kind of figuring out, to me, it's 1 and 4 are figured out. It's 2, 3, and 5 through 9. Where are we putting everybody, right? And right now, the way McCarthy finished off the year, white hot, just looking like a top outfielder. I think he's the number 3 hitter. But there have been some big rumors, and Welsh is a little more connected than I am with some behind the scenes stuff, and he's heard some stuff about the Rangers being very interested. So I don't know what they would have to give up, and I don't know. That was about a month ago, so I don't know if those deals would be dead at this point after trading Varsho. But it has potential because McCarthy is so he's very risky, right? Because we've seen guys go through a stretch like McCarthy did and never show up again. And I'm not saying McCarthy's that guy. I've just seen it so many times that if McCarthy didn't do anything again, I'd be like, well, should have traded him in the offseason for whatever, right? One of those things. So he's a good commodity, not only because he won people leagues last year, but because, stolen bases are going by the wayside, and he looks like he's going to get a whole bunch of them this year. So, a worthy investment, but a risky investment, I think, with McCarthy.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I can buy in on the investment. You look at the 13% swing strike rate, which tells me his strikeout rate should be higher than it was in 2022. You look at his XBA, it was around 248, which tells me, and the BABIP was 349. So that batting average is regressing. Like I said, there's a logjam. Like, they need to find a place for Alek Thomas to play. There's no reason Alek Thomas should be, toiling around in the minor leagues or as a bench bat in this outfield.
Not with his Gold Glove out there.
Yeah.
So let me look at some of these outfielders here, Mason. McCarthy or Santander?
Santander.
McCarthy or Vaughn?
Vaughn.
McCarthy or Stanton?
Oh man. Stanton.
McCarthy or let's go with your boy Haniger, who you love so much, and you're very happy the Giants signed.
I am very happy that the Giants signed him. But
his nose just started growing, everyone.
Yeah.
So
No, I'd much rather have him than have the Carlos Correa contract.
Carlos Correa's gone. That's the only reason you're happy.
I like Mitch Haniger a lot.
We gave him away in the Marte deal, by the way.
Yeah.
Gave him away to Seattle. He's a throw-in.
Yeah. So but for fantasy, I'll take McCarthy because that park is going to wreak havoc on Andrew.
I think that's the line right there. Is like, because he's going off, like you said, the 31st outfielder here or whatever, and then all the guys I gave you, he's going below. I can't believe you take any of the guys ahead of him. McCarthy over Chris Bryant.
Oh, I hate Chris Bryant too. No,
he's in Colorado.
I'm in Colorado and
Cassie, Yelich, Kwan, Suzuki.
No, I'm gonna take all those guys.
Right.
I might even take a Hunter Renfroe over McCarthy or Ian Happ.
I could see Happ. I don't know about Renfroe.
I love Renfroe.
I like Renfroe too, but you wait, in the LA lineup, which is Trout.
He's going to be hitting behind Trout and Ohtani.
Yeah, well, until Trout's spine falls off and Ohtani, blows out his arm, and then there's
don't say that. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, there's two good guys in that lineup. There's three good guys if you want to throw Renfroe in there, and then nothing.
Hey, Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward's great.
Yeah, all right. I mean, I'm kind of reaching.
I love Taylor Ward. How dare
Taylor Ward's fine.
Lourdes Gurriel. He is now a Diamondback. What are your thoughts on him leaving Toronto, coming to the desert?
Look, I like Gurriel. And the Diamondbacks needed a right-handed at bat that wasn't Christian Walker, because this lineup is crazy lefty heavy, which is nice, but it makes it real easy to go to the bullpen. What are you going to do? We'll bring in the lefty. We have all these stupid lefties. So, I think he's going to play most days because we need that right-handed bat. I'm hoping he can pick a little bit of the power back up. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, this is a guy that pushes right now Alek Thomas to the bench because Thomas really faded with the bat down the stretch. Now he played Gold Glove level defense. He's a great defender. So I still believe in Alek Thomas, and I kind of hope that they would trade McCarthy before Alek Thomas because first of all, I think you're going to get way more from McCarthy right now, and that value could be different at the end of this season. It could be more. McCarthy found it and is going to be this guy for the rest of his major league career. You're going to get way more from McCarthy. So it could be selling him low, but watching Alek Thomas roaming out there in center field was so much fun. And he's still, 16 years old, 15 years old. I mean, he looks like he's, a teenager, but still plenty of time to work on that bat. So I'm excited about the future, but for this year, he's a hard buy. He's blocked. It's Gurriel, it's Corbin Carroll, and it's Jake McCarthy. And, DH is a question what they're going to do with that. I know they like Pavin a lot, and he's healthy, and Roster Resource has him penciled in. I think that's correct, but he'll play. Alek Thomas ain't going to DH. If he's playing, he's going to be out in the field, and then they would DH whoever else, one of the outfielders. So excited about him, but it's going to be tough to get him on the field, especially if those other guys are hitting.
Yeah, I love Alek Thomas quite a bit, especially that defense, because that defense keeps him on the field when he is up. But
Roman, your center field, wouldn't he? That gigantic cavernous center field.
Amazing. I would love the Giants to do that. They're not going to. They're gonna roam an outfield of Mitch Haniger, Jock Peterson, and Michael Conforto with Mike Yastrzemski. Yeah, it's
hit it to the gap. It's fallen.
It was the worst defensive outfield last year and somehow got worse. Like, I don't understand like what my team is doing. But
have to outscore people.
Apparently, yeah. It's we're playing football.
Good luck doing that
scores.
against the Dodgers. So.
Yeah, and the Padres, right? So, and even you guys. I mean, I like your guys' offense a hell of a lot more than I like my offense. So, I do like Alek Thomas. You almost wonder if he does need either his own trade or a trade of someone else to even get a shot. I've taken him in some DCs just on kind of an upside play, but I think that's just about the only place outside of keeper dynasty leagues where you can take him right now until we see something. Hopefully, maybe something comes down the pike. We're recording this like right before the new year, and so probably by the time, knowing my luck, that this posts on like January 6th, I believe. They'll have made like 2 or 3 more trades. This whole conversation.
Look, if they do 2 or 3 more, we can just redo this. I'm not against that.
No. People get what they get. This is what they get. Kyle Lewis is on this roster.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, speaking of guys who can't stay healthy, any hope for him?
I mean, this is a former rookie of the year, right? So I like having him on this team. But there's a glut of outfielders, and you have to say the next man up out of the 3 starters is definitely Alek Thomas. So where does that put Kyle Lewis? That puts him 5th in the rotation among these outfielders, and we have some outfielders coming up too. It's a logjam for the D-backs right now. So like you said, we could get another trade. Obviously, injuries happen all the time. So I think, obviously we're going to see Kyle Lewis playing a decent amount this year, but could it be 100 games or 50 games? It's going to be somewhere in that range. I don't think it's much more than that unless someone gets majorly injured. So, he's a piece, but he's a bench piece firmly right now.
Yeah. You guys need another challenge trade, another Gallen, Jazz Chisholm type trade. Add a little bit more to the starting pitching. Trade one of these young outfielders.
Give Alek Thomas and Madison Bumgarner to someone for a bat. Like, make them take Bumgarner too. That'd be great. You want him back? You can have him. Fine, done. You give me a bucket of the baseballs they were throwing to Aaron Judge, and I'll give you Madison Bumgarner back. See if he can regain his magic in San Fran. You can have Mason Saunders.
You're gonna have to eat that whole contract. Yeah.
No, we'll eat 25 of it. I heard on the D-backs podcast, they were kind of discussing that. Like, could they even trade Madison Bumgarner $37 million for the next 2 years? And it was like they would probably have to eat at least 25, and and get nothing back either. Like, I don't know, but he's so bad. He is so bad. They might put him in the bullpen, and then what's he? I mean, I'm sure that that Madison Bumgarner will not have any issues with being moved back to the bullpen, right? He's going to be a total team player and keep us cool and be fine. So I think the only time I've been behind Madison Bumgarner was when that stupid ass umpire was grabbing his hand and staring him in the face, earlier last year. I was hoping he'd knock that guy out. But other than that, I'm not the big. I hated that contract. I just, what are you doing? This guy has 7,000 playoff innings on his arm. It's like playing 3 other seasons or whatever. It's just ridiculous. So he's burnt. He's toast. He's nothing. He's just an innings eater. He's not even he's barely an NL only option for me. And that's if you're on like a 16-man NL only. That's what he is. Frustrating, Madison Bumgarner.
Bumgarner is like the guy you take in like the last round of your DC, just when all your other pitchers get injured, you might have a healthy arm. Let's talk about the rest of the rotation and get away from that sore subject. Zac Gallen. I love Zac Gallen. He may be one of my favorite picks this year. He's already on 2 of my teams. I think he's a legit top 10 starting pitcher going into 2023. Where are you at on Zac Gallen?
I'm right there with you. How is he the 33rd pitcher going? Like, especially that second half, Mason. I mean, the second half was unbelievable for him. His ERA was 1.49. Like, he just got better and better as the year went on. Started to push for Cy Young votes and stuff like that. So he is going too low to me. I'm absolutely with you. I'm not the biggest, I feel like too much of a homer when I take too many of my own D-backs players, but he's such a good value this year. And, pitching is so finicky and weird every single year. This guy seems pretty solid. So, yeah, he's a deal. And there's upside. What's not to like about Zac Gallen?
It's a great park to pitch in. He doesn't give up home runs. He lowered the walk rate. He still gets, you strike out per inning. He throws a bunch of innings on top of that. I think the Diamondbacks are getting better as a team, which means better chances for wins. I love Zac Gallen.
Where's the downside? There's no downside on picking him. There's none. It's all upside.
If you're the type of person, and I've already done this in a couple drafts where it's like, well, I'm going to wait on starting pitching. Zac Gallen is like my target. Like he's the guy. Sure. Like I'm just zeroing.
Even if you're not waiting on pitching, if you took pitching early, he's a nice guy. A little bit later too, because he's not going in the very top. So I love Gallen.
Yeah, I do as well. Merrill Kelly, he had some moments last year. Do you think
Merrill? That's my guy. I love Merrill. Yeah, you gotta love Merrill. I mean, look, another guy that's coming at a value, another guy that finished off the year strong. He spent a long time in Korea, so it's taken him a little bit to get back to being a fifth man instead of a sixth man in the rotation. You know what I mean? But he's getting there in terms of stretching his arm out and stuff. It went deeper in a game than he's ever gone this season, and he put up some nice numbers. Like, he's not going to blow you away. He doesn't have anything eye popping, right? But he's just good. He's just a solid pitcher that's going to go out there and get you, 5 or 6 strikeouts, maybe a W, and just is not going to get blown up too many times. I think he had 2 real rough starts last year, but other than that, pretty solid through and through. So I love Merrill. It's another guy. Like, I'm not the biggest, on taking D-backs pitching a lot outside of like the Randys and Brandon Webb and Dan Herron, like the Cy Young contenders. But these guys have been those two. That's a nice 1-2 punch there.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that when his command is on, because he's got great control. He doesn't walk guys. Like, he just doesn't. When his command is on, he is just a really, really solid, good pitcher. And especially at home where, he gave up less home runs because it's such a nice park. I would be a little bit more careful about using him on the road, but yeah, I think he's kind of underrated because he doesn't have the gaudy strikeout numbers, but 200 innings, like, you can compile strikeouts even with like 7 strikeouts per 9. So, I think I'm fine with like him as like a kind of a middle or back end rotation guy for your team. Like, he's like a very, very unsexy innings eater, especially for those of you like me who play in deeper leagues. Like, you need guys like that, especially coming at a cheap price.
Taillon or Kelly?
Probably Taillon, but that's really close.
Hunter Brown.
I'm going to take Kelly. I don't know if Hunter Brown's starting the year in the rotation.
How about Tyler Anderson?
I have no idea what Tyler Anderson is. I want him to be good and stuff and be able to carry what he did for the Dodgers over to the Angels. I just recorded the Angels preview yesterday. I really don't know what to expect. Like, and when I have that, like, kind of just like eerie feeling, like, I just go a different direction.
How about this one? Because this guy is 1 pick ahead of him. Jose Barrios.
This is another one. I have no idea what Jose. Like,
Barrios definitely has a higher ceiling.
Absolutely, but the floor is atrocious.
Is enormous. That first start that he had, I was like, what is happening? He gave up like 8 runs. It was insane. Yeah, and it was just, oh my Lord. It was a roller coaster with that guy because he put together like 3 starts in a row where you're like, is Jose Barrios back? Did he finally quit tipping pitches? Is he good? Nope. 2 starts later, he gives up 6 and 2 1/3. And you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? So yeah, Merrill Kelly's way more consistent than that. But like you said, he's not no eye popping numbers, so he's not going to be very popular. But I would take Merrill Kelly over Stroman and Barrios and all those guys that don't deserve. They're just name brand
Yeah.
over him. So
I
he's a better pitcher.
I think a lot of it comes down to what your team looks like when you get to that point. How much risk do you have already involved? If you already have risk involved in your team and your pitching staff, then you should be taking Merrill Kelly. If you've been pretty risk averse throughout the draft, then maybe you take the upside on a guy like Jose Barrios. But I think Lucas Giolito is another conversation, right? Like, I have no idea what Lucas Giolito is, but I know exactly what I'm getting from Merrill Kelly. I put Miles Michaelis in the same kind of conversation, right? A guy who he's going to give me 200 innings. They're going to be good innings, not going to get many strikeouts. I'm fine with that as long as I've gotten my strikeouts earlier.
The first 30 pitches, we're all throwing darts. Christ. These guys are so up and down. It's crazy.
What about Drey Jameson? He's a guy that I kind of ignored towards the end of last season, and I wish I hadn't, because going back and watching some tape and digging into the numbers, I kind of like him.
Yeah, he hasn't been bad. That back end of the rotation, there are spots open to win in spring training. Fott obviously is going to be in there. Drey Jameson, a couple other guys. I think Luis Frias might get a crack as well. There are open spots at the back end, and I think honestly, Gallen and Kelly might be, those are the spots that are really not available. I think Bumgarner's spot could be Ryne Nelson, and Drey Jameson are kind of penciled in right now to be those guys. And Jameson is one of those guys that finished off the year strong and probably help some people win, like you said. Tommy Henry was in there. They might get Slade Ciccone a chance, during spring. So there are some of those back end guys, and Drey Jameson definitely fits in there. I would say that I'd say Jameson is more locked in to a spot. I would say he's as locked in as Madison Bumgarner is, in my opinion. I think he definitely will get a spot to start. I think it's kind of, as long as he doesn't get blown up in spring, he has the job, so we'll see. But solid starter, not extremely sexy, but put together a couple good starts at the end of the year. And that's what you want to see when you give these guys a cup of coffee. It's better to look good than bad. And he looked pretty good in those 4 starts.
Yeah. Let's move into the bullpen.
Can we not?
What the fuck? You've got Mark Melancon, Kevin Ginkel, Joe Mantiply, Miguel Castro. Are you even taking dart throws at the Arizona Diamondbacks closer job for fantasy?
I mean, I like Mantiply. He made the All-Star game. He had a very solid season. And I think in terms of guys earning a spot, I would say he did it. I wish Mark Melancon would go away.
He will after next season, but
I would cut him. I would DFA him. He was awful. And the worst part is listening to that interview with Nick Picoro. He was like, well, I don't know how much different Melancon was than he was the year before. And I'm like, he wasn't good the year before. He was lucky. This year he was what he is. He's a bad back end of the pitcher. You throw 91 soft tossing over the middle, you're going to get hammered. It's the big leagues. I don't understand why people think that's any good just because this guy got saves with the Giants. Sure, when it's 11 o'clock and 40 degrees out there in San Francisco and you hit it really high in the air and the wind's blowing in, that homer is going to get pushed in and not get caught. When you're doing it in Arizona with the dry air, it's going to go right out of the ballpark, which is what it did with Melancon. He's so frustrating. The back, every bullpen sucks. They're all failed starters. So everyone bitches and moans about their bullpen. But this bullpen gave away at least 10 games last year. I think the D-backs are 10 games better if they have a solid bullpen, and it's still not solid. I like Miguel Castro. He throws heat, which is what they need in that bullpen. They need some fire because they just didn't have it at all last year. It's all kind of soft tossers. So I like him. They got the Scott McGuff guy who Hazen has said they want him for a back end of the bullpen role. So at least a setup man for him. So it's going to be his role, as long as he makes the team. So, they had the Justin Martinez guy from the fall league who looked very good as well. He's a possibility. But in terms of guys that on this roster that I would take a shot at, it would have to be Mantiply, because he is the guy I feel that has earned it. So Ginkel was up and down. Melancon was awful. The rest of the guys I'm just not that interested in. So this could go a bunch of different ways, but Mantiply is my guy out of that group, and I'm not very solid on it either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those situations that you should probably avoid. If you can. I agree. Mantiply is probably
different guys with 8 saves.
Yeah, Mantiply is like the most skilled, but he also could be the guy they go, we're just going to bring him in the highest leverage spot. And I have this feeling it's, and it's not backed up by any sort of report or anything.
Sure.
But what do teams like to do when they sign a reliever like this to a long-term contract, a 2-year deal, is, hey, we're going to try to get him right so we can flip him. So I would actually put money on Mark Melancon being the opening day closer for the Diamondbacks. It won't go well. And you guys will probably blow some games early on because of it. But like, if you're looking for
my Justin Mason voodoo doll.
Yeah, sorry. I've got a Justin Mason voodoo doll shirt on RotoWear if you'd like to go get one. I'm not wearing it today, but I think Melancon is the guy who ends up with the job out of spring training, and then somebody else, probably Mantiply or someone else.
My question is how much can Melancon raise his stock at this point? I think most teams know he's washed. Like,
but you can
there's
get
no velocity.
To 17-year-old
this loser?
Someone will. People have traded for him before. Like we've seen it over and over again.
Why did we sign him? Like, I don't know what is happening. I've never liked him.
I think initially this is what they wanted to do, was like, hey, he's going to come in and he's going to save a bunch of games for us in the first half, and then we're going to trade him, and he'll have an extra year of control, so teams will give up more, and then just blew up in their fucking face.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe to get rid of his contract. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So come on, Diamondbacks fans, let's join together and get rid of this guy. Let's start a GoFundMe to pay off his contract. Give it to Ken Kendrick and be like, look, we'll pay. We don't want to.
At least you guys didn't sign him for like 4 or 5 years. Like, that's like the blessing of this guy. Yeah. Scott, thank you so much for joining me. This was an absolute
thanks for having me, man.
It always is. Remind everybody again where you can reach and everything that you do.
Yeah, at Bogman Sports on the Twitter. Of course, I'm on the In This League fantasy baseball podcast with the Welsh, and we just hit episode number 600 over there. So, thank you. Between that and baseball, and we did basketball for a while, and college football, and all that good stuff. Lots of shows over In This League. And then catch me over on Fantasy Pros on occasion. Baseball is kind of still getting planned over there right now. So, but I'll be having shows up there. Our Patreon, inthisleague.com or patreon.com/ITL Army is always available. And if you like the football side too, I do a lot of stuff over there. I got a War Room podcast with my guy CK over there as well. So just follow me on Twitter, and I will tweet and retweet and all my stuff. And I landed on Twitter Blue, so I had to pay for Twitter Blue, and they did it. It took a week, but they did it. I know a lot of people are going to make fun of me for paying for Twitter or whatever, but whatever.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it.
$8 is cheap, whatever. I think it's good for business, to be honest. So,
and that's why I've thought about it. I don't know. I just feel scummy giving him my money.
Sure. Yeah. But, I mean,
I give worse places my money too. So like,
I'm going to give worse people my money tonight. So
there you go. I'm happy for you. You can reach me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. Email me or the show, friendsfantasybenefits@gmail.com. Let's see. I write daily at Fangraphs on the Sleeper on the Bus podcast, TGFBI podcast, and this podcast. And speaking of TGFBI, you can sign up for TGFBI through the month of January. We'll be taking signups for those and the satellite leagues. Those drafts will start in late February, early March. But if you've ever wanted to be in TGFBI, definitely go sign up. If you're not eligible because you're not in the industry or haven't won a satellite, you can win a satellite league by signing up for those over at tgfbi.com. For Scott and myself, thanks for listening. Have a fantastic baseball off season.